All right. Well, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you guys are logging in from. And welcome to our first session of today, Asking Made Easy, from First-Time Gifts to Major Donors, presented by Lindsay Simmons. So before I hand the session over to Lindsay, I'd like to remind you all to be sure to add your questions to the Q&A tab so that we can see them and answer them at the end of the presentation. Questions that you put into the general chat area may not get answered due to the constant scrolling of the screen. So with that said, Lindsay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Awesome. Audio good? I'm going to assume it is because I don't see you anymore. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you all for joining us. And I'm Lindsay Simons of Lindsay Simons Consulting, and I've been in major gift fundraising and fundraising at large for most of my career. So over a decade, and have raised over $1 billion. I'm thrilled to be talking to you about how to make the ask at any size. And let me just get the next slide going. There we go. So here I am, and you can find out more about me at lindsaysimonsconsulting.com. I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn and sometimes on Instagram. I'm trying to manage my social media. I want to start with a story. That is the theme of this conference. And I just had a really timely experience where one of the campaigns that I'm managing, one of the donors or one of the volunteers was reaching out to a donor. Now, this donor had heard about our capital campaign a couple of times already. He filled out a survey that had been sent. He had attended a reunion. He is an alumni of a school. And he'd also sat down and talked with our fundraisers about the project. Then when it came time for the ask, we reached out, the client reached out and said, this is what our project is. You've been involved in it. Let's have a conversation about how you can be supportive of it. So they had gone through all of those, the cycle of the first capturing attention, that cultivation, that discovery of interest, moving into a briefing, really getting to know the project itself, the budget, the timeline, the purpose, the vision, the why, and then ultimately asking permission to make the ask. And then when our fundraiser made the ask, he said, okay, let me think about this. She said, great. I'm not looking for an answer right now, but let's find another time, maybe in a week or two, and let's talk about what you think you can do. So he agreed. They set up a time then and there, and they followed up the next week. When they followed up, he said, because you made such a meaningful, specific, and personal solicitation of me, I'm thrilled to say yes. I'll not only meet the ask that you gave, but I'm also going to do a little bit more on top of that for your general operations. So it was for the organization at large and for a specific project. And that was the best case scenario. That's one that I really love to see highlighted because it's a process that we're talking about in fundraising. Now, again, whether this is a capital campaign, major gifts, or an annual fund ask, even an event ask, an electronic solicitation, what you're doing is you're walking the donor through a process with you to understand the purpose, the why, the meaning, the heart of the project, and then really making sure that it makes sense. Does it make good business sense? Does it make sense to the head, heart, and gut? And that's really the essence of what we'll be talking about today, so that hopefully you can set yourself up for meaningful and specific solicitations that result in yeses. So we're going to talk about how solicitation really is your mission. Your mission as a fundraiser or as a board member or as a leader of the organization is to ensure that your organization is funded. That's how nonprofits are structured. And we can get into the dialogue about nonprofits, a totally different time, a business operation at a different time. But the essence is your job is to advocate for this organization that you care so deeply about, and help others to see how they can have an impact too through their philanthropy and how it can be meaningful to them as well. There are various types of donors out there and asks, like I was talking about earlier. We've got different segments of our fundraising pipeline that we might want to be taking note of. And then how are you matching your donor with a specific solicitation? What's the right solicitation and how do you do it? And then we're going to get into brass tacks samples of specific language. So if for nothing else, you can download this presentation. You can also download a handout that I've created that has specific 5-point guidance as well as the ask language. Print it out, practice it, make it your own. The most important thing that I want you to hear of this entire presentation is that be yourself. If you're in your conviction and you're in your confidence, then an invitation to support your organization can't go wrong. So know what you're going to say, know how you want to say it, and go in there and relate to a person. So we are not doing a survey today, but I just want to ask you, and if you're on your computer, type in your response. If you're driving or you're listening to this on a walk, which I love to do, then obviously don't worry about it. But if you're sitting in front of a computer right now, please answer into the chat box. Have you ever put off making an ask because you just didn't feel confident about it? You weren't sure what to say, how to say it, and you just put it off. You gave it 3 months, 6 months. You never actually even did it. What happened? Yes, I'm seeing some responses here. Yes, so many. And Eleanor is saying handouts are on their way. So totally sure. Okay, we're getting tons of responses. Yes. Okay. So that's what the energy of this conversation is really about, is how do you create more confidence and how do you create a plan so that you don't have that anxiety attack and paralysis of analysis and you just put it off, right? So it is something that you can master. Anyone can. I promise you, this is actually a lot easier and more fun than you think it is once you start feeling more confident. Then you can start playing with it, right? You can start understanding your own way. Oops, I clicked the wrong button here. All right. Can I just send an email? No. Yes. Of course you can send an email if your job is annual fundraising and you primarily communicate via technology. But human-to-human solicitation is really what we're going to focus on today. And that's where you're going to get the most engagement. You're going to see that people give time over time, so repeat giving, and you're going to see upgrades. So people will give at one level, then they'll give more and more and more over time up to their capacity, which of course is not up to us when you have that human-to-human connection. So emails are good, phone calls are good, video conference is good, coffee in person is good. Whatever you can do to really personalize your connection so that you're in constant communication. And you can use this to really upgrade your dialogues. Now, this deck is created so that it can be a standalone. There's a lot of language on here. And I know that most of you have also given fantastic presentations. And we know that sometimes it's better to have a few words on a slide so you're really listening to the presenter. And other times you want to have a robust deck so that somebody can download it and take it home with them. I'm using the latter strategy here. So you can skim and read along with me and pay attention because I'll share everything that's important on the screen. So it's really proven that understanding the impact of the gift and having a personal connection is going to result in more donations and more repeat giving, as I said earlier. So what I was talking about at the very beginning of my presentation, when I was talking about the example, is we were thinking about the donor life cycle. Okay, so it's understanding how do you engage your prospective donors by really discovering, first of all, who are your donors? And we'll get into that in the next slide. But then how do you deepen the relationship? So do you engage them in various ways? Do you have an electronic survey or something that's, maybe it's a monthly newsletter. Maybe it's your Instagram social posts. Love seeing those. Maybe it's even a video. I've seen one of the presidents that I work with, he will record a message that's like a 10 to 30 second message and send it to all of his top donors. That's, hey, I'm just checking in with you. Here's what's going on with the program. This, and this happened today. Have a great day. Send. I really like that approach. Now that everybody is more technologically savvy, whether we like it or not, that's the direction that we're going in. So it's really deepening the relationship. Okay. And then the next step. So think about this as a phase. The next step is really briefing your donors. So helping them to understand what's to come, what's happening, what are the details. So I think of a briefing as not just the, get to know you, have a good time, but it's a little